And black door in the forest isn't here to taunt us, cause it's going nowhere. You gotta move on, cause shadows in the dark are always coming towards you. Red eyes in the night, you put them out of sight. Don't be paralyzed, move on to Nirvana or Shangri-La or Valhalla. Ooh, cause if you stay in limbo, you'll decay. Roots, trees, branches, leaves, covering the skyline, blocking out the sunlight, making new like midnight. White house on the right, it calls you to the light, put it out of sight. You need to try and see the forest from the trees. Don't be paralyzed, move on to Nirvana or Shangri-La.
Welcome back to Runeterra Academy Extracurricular Activities Week number 5. I am PBS, joined with Red as usual. Unfortunately, no guests today. DM Red if you want to be a guest.
Not too late.
It isn't
Not too late, guys. It's still joined as a guest. Oh, but hey, guys.
So
thanks for coming out today.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing the rankings backwards again. That's I think that's gonna be the norm from now on. But yeah, I mean, we can head straight into it if you want to.
Sure. I think what's fun is that a lot of our rankings are very similar now. I think a lot of these teams, and we expected this last week. After last week, we figured that a lot of things would just kind of get sorted out. Because there was still a lot of question marks, but there was so many banger matchups last week that it determined quite a bit. And once that happened, we were able to solidify our picks like pretty good.
Of course.
I think what would have really upended these power rankings is if CPP was able to beat AKM last week, because then we would have had like 5 3-1 teams.
That would have been nuts.
That would have been nuts. Yeah, there's no other division that has 5 3-1 teams. Anyway, uh, so Akuma Blades coming out 4-0, baby. 4-0. And you know what? They're also the first team to lock a playoff spot in seniors. They are 100% locked in. They are, it looks like 4 is the magic number.
Yep.
That doesn't mean if you don't get 4, you don't make playoffs, but 4 will lock you in. And, yeah, that's going to be just so much fun to see how this shakes out. Right now, we're seeing seniors and juniors lock in playoff spots. Freshman and sophomore, when it goes down to 4 teams per division, playoff spots become a little harder to lock because the difference between 1 and 7 and the difference between 1 and 5 are drastically different. So, good to see AKM coming out undefeated. Finished second last split and is now locked in that playoff spot. And I kind of want to say they lucked out. They kind of got the easiest schedule. Because what they got coming up is OGW, G7M, and then Nightless. I mean, that is a monster schedule.
Yeah.
Those are all the 3-1 teams. So I haven't played any of them yet. Which means that this will be an interesting end of the season to AKM. They can prove that they are the real deal in these next 3 weeks. Or maybe they'll just, take it off, They already secured playoffs. They don't have to really try that hard. But they would like that first and second seed so they can get that bye week in the first week. So
Of course. That bye is pretty important in playoffs. I mean, I think both teams that had a bye won, so
yeah, that's true. And bye weeks are for people who are just joining and maybe you're not familiar. This season, bye weeks are exclusive just to junior and senior.
I
just
didn't
because
update this.
The amount of teams in. What did you not update?
One sec. I missed the senior. I did the sophomore one. One sec. You can keep talking.
Okay. So yeah, there's too many teams in freshman and sophomore to allow us to do bye weeks for those top 2 seats. So they'll just have the privilege of playing the lowest seed of the other side. But get into the rest of the power rankings. We got Nightless and Omega tied for second.
Wait.
What
There, update yet? There we go.
Oh, okay. There we go. The important distinction. Nightless and Omega. Nothing actually changed. Just the
ranking.
The Reds and PVS's rankings. So Nightless and Omega still tied for second. We will call them senior skip days. Okay, how about that?
That doesn't make sense.
Nightless and Omega. We got them tied for second. I think it's a little wild that given Nightless second place because I think OGW beat them early on in the season. But
they did.
You have the faith. You know what? Yep. And you know what? I respect it because Nightless is the only team that's beaten G7M, who is sitting there squarely in 4th. We dropped them pretty low. Yeah, we dropped them pretty low last week, and then we were like, you know what? Okay, maybe 5th. Maybe 5th is too low.
Oh, 4th is good. 4th is good.
This feels solid. And Costa Pasta Pirates. It's early on in the season. It felt like we had a top 5, and now it does feel like we have a top 4. And Costa's kind of solidly in that 5th slot. They showed how good they were against AKM. They were good, but they did take a game, so it's hard to really put them above G7 Mirage, who we know has beaten AKM in the past. But yeah, I think a lot of these upcoming weeks are going to be jockeying just for playoff seeds. There's going to be a lot of banger matchups that will determine playoff seeding. And I think we probably do have the 6 solidified in my mind, Really hard for Puds to overcome TAG. In fact, this was Puds' first 0-2 week. They have gone 2-1 every week, but now it's 0-2. So
very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. But yeah, I think is there any specifics you want to talk about for this division? For this class, I mean,
I still think CPP can beat the 4 teams above them on a good day. I don't think they're just dedicated to 5th, but we'll see. I mean, I put them 5th, so I guess I think they're 5th, but they definitely have a better chance at beating the top 4 teams than TAG, Puds, and Redbird.
Right. Right.
Yeah, there's a pretty big gap between 5th and 6, 7, 8.
Right. Of course. Okay. Do you want any banger matchups you're looking forward to this week? I think AKM versus OGW is like the only one. Everything else feels like a wash. Puds versus CPP, Nightless versus Redbird, and G7M versus TAG.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty as expected week.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, you want to move over to Junior?
Alrighty, Junior time. So
we do have a guest coming, by the way.
So I see you move CB Rush down 1, so they didn't keep tied for first. How nice of you.
Yeah, I had to do it. I just got sick of seeing CB Rush tied for first when they literally got 2-0'd by BBC. It didn't feel right, so I had to move them down to 3rd just for clarity's sake. No, that's not actually true. I think AR Esports looks really good. They really impressed me last week. I'm really excited for how they play against CBR this week. That'll be basically the game that determines seconds. Yeah, there's no way BBC drops another any series the rest of the season.
That's probably one of the 2 closer the only 2 potentially close matchups is Air CBR.
Right.
And I guess OG Empire. I feel like that could be.
I feel like OG is solidly 4th. I don't think I think Nameless they beat CE. Right, and they beat MTC, so they've only beaten the bottom 2 teams. I think OGU is really good. I think they've had a rough schedule, and their last half of their schedule is going to be pretty easy. So, they play Empire, and then I guess they play CBR in the last week.
The only reason I put Zen R 4th is because they gave BBC their first loss, first game loss.
Oh, BBC, yeah, this week, yeah, they looked very good. Able to take a game off of BBC, which is not something anyone besides Puds has done. I think BBC finished last season without a game loss.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, G7 lost to USC, so.
Yeah. BBC finished last season without a game loss, except in playoffs, of course. But yeah, this is their first regular season loss in Runeterra Academy, and it went to
Mental's going down now.
It's over. It's doomed. They're not going to beat.
That's why they're second on my power ranking.
They're not going to beat MTC or Air Esports or Empire.
I believe they're also locked for playoffs, right?
Yep, they are the only team that's locked for playoffs in Junior. That is correct.
So another 4 magic number. That's good. Easy number to remember.
BBC Kendrick saying that he went for the longest game of the season. So limit tested. Oh, I actually have to apologize. I need to really quickly talk about a guest that has joined us, and then a guest power rankings for seniors. So first, let's talk about the guest that has joined us. You want to introduce him, BVS?
Don't know him that well, but T.A. Okina? I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, it's Okina. I'm just here to judge PVS's sophomore rankings.
That's all
I know they're going to be wrong. I mean, just looking at the junior rankings, just PVS is not putting BBC first. I already know we're off to a bad start.
Well, I mean, I am second. I mean,
so so Team Ambition Wolves Okina is here. He is representing sophomore. His team is also undefeated. I think they're actually the only undefeated team in sophomore. And I'm sure he's got some spicy takes later on. But I wanted to bring up somebody special from the senior class sent me their power rankings when I was asking people for their power rankings. A little known fella that goes by the name of it's
never heard of him.
Top. Is G7M's top again?
Heckin' Maskov.
Heckin' Maskov. Yeah, Throat Goat. Number 1, he put G7M. Number 2, AKM. Number 3, OGW. Number 4, CPP. Number 5, Nightless. Number 6, TAG. number 7 Puds, and number 8 Varsity, and he wanted to explain it real quick before we move completely into junior. He says, we are the best, obviously. Akuma Blades is really good with no weak players. That's why they're number 2. OGW are also really good. However, they are easily exploitable with in-game tactics and champion pools. Los Pasta Pirates have good players, but I don't think as a team they work as well as the top 3. Same with Nightless. Team Ambition Glory isn't good, but Puds and Redbird are so much worse.
Uh-oh.
Redbird being last is self-explanatory. So, yeah, before we move completely into junior, I wanted to touch on that real quick so he doesn't feel like I ignored his power rankings. But now focusing back on the junior, Air Esports with the big win over OG Unknown. I remember in banter there was quite a bit of trash talk between those two teams, and OGU was ready and was willing to prove themselves. They thought it would be an easy match, and then they got 2-0'd on stream. So that was kind of rough. And so they sit squarely in 4th for me. You have them at 5th though. You think Enigma Reapers is better because they took a game off of BBC?
Yes.
And that's the only reason?
Well, I think theirs better.
Well, OG...
They have the same game score. Just one less match.
But that's... I mean, OG Unknown also beat them.
So?
Oh, okay.
That doesn't matter.
Okay.
I don't look at the standings.
Okay. Okina, did you want to... on junior at all?
I mean, honestly, I don't know very much about junior, but I do know that the whole season, the 2 teams that you guys have been talking about the most have been BBC and CB Rush. I think from the history that I've heard, this BBC absolutely dominated the division last season.
Yes,
it looks like they're doing that again. So, but from what I've heard from you guys is that CB Rush is the only team that really has a chance of challenging them. I don't know much about Air Esports, but definitely CB Rush and BBC have been the 2 teams that I've heard of the most.
Yeah, so CB Rush is like a really well-known junior level team, a plat level team. They basically won like every league they entered. They weren't in our league last season. And BBC just kind of rolled everyone. It wasn't very close. Same with G7 Mirage last season. And one of my favorite things about this season is junior and senior feel extremely competitive. They're teams that can definitely beat BBC that are not named CB Rush. If they're playing well, like, and on a good day. And senior feels like it's a complete toss-up between 4 teams.
Yep.
Sophomores, like the level of play in sophomore has completely upgraded. Completely.
Well, I'd say at the top it's upgraded.
Right.
I feel like the ceiling went up, but the floor is about the same.
I don't know if you saw Rar's game last week.
Well, Rar was also in sophomore last season, so we've already established that. But like, it does feel like, because it was like a 2-pony race in sophomore last season, and all of the teams that are playing that are in the top 4 in each division feel better than the finalists from last year. They do feel like much better, in my opinion. So. It does feel like a strict upgrade in sophomore talent. But I guess since we're talking about sophomore, we can move over to sophomore because there's nothing else to talk about.
Division 2 time.
I don't agree. Legends Outlaw is better than any team currently in sophomore. I don't think so. I think
I don't know where they are, dude.
Yeah, Leo ain't even here, dude. So that's not even a team anymore. That's not even something worth discussing. But I still think OMTZ is much better than LEO. I think Project Maverick would probably beat LEO this season too. They look better. Yeah, I know it was. We're just making fun of you, Kobita. But it does feel like the competition has gotten much more stiff, especially in sophomore. Speaking of sophomore, we have sophomore Division 2. 4 teams tied at 3-1, but 1 team had losses. Almost like a riddle. Like, how does that happen? Well, I'll tell you how it happened. OMTZ had to FF to beat Project Maverick early on in the season after they already beaten them. But they're sitting squarely in first place for both of us after their humongous 2-0 victory over Mint Potato. And when I say huge, I mean it, because like we were looking at Mid Potato like, oh, who is gonna even beat this team? They look insane. And then OMTZ is like, yeah, we will.
Yeah, it's
2-0.
gone.
So yeah, we had to just. It just feels like it's really competitive now, because I still think. Remember when Project Maverick played Mint Potato 2 weeks ago? That also felt really competitive. So we're in an interesting spot right now. EAGA, they've got them. They have to prove themselves in the next couple weeks, be in that conversation for championship, because they play PM and they play OMTZ. So right now we have our top three. What I think me and you, we feel like the top three have separated themselves kind of, and then the bottom five are kind of like where they should be. They're kind of solid in their spot. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if you agree or disagree.
I saw a bunch of roster changes for Revenge, so I'm not sure what's going on over there. So I couldn't really put them below SOS or RAR, but yeah, the roster
Right.
changes kind of scare me with how much, like, it's like an entire team pretty much. So
But Kazuchi back in the top lane.
Kazuchi.
El Kazuchi
Oh, he's in
back
top
in
lane?
the
No,
top
no,
lane.
they're last. Gucci got
Dude, no, man, that guy is a monster in the top lane. His ADC play is, yeah, it's interesting, but his top lane play, he was like the number one top laner last season. He did get all-star for that. So that's nothing to sniff at all. And Revenge, they have SOS coming up this week, so I think we'll see them solidly move to 3-2, and then they have to prove themselves against Mint and PM, which is going to be really tough. I think maybe we probably should put RAR above SOS, because I think RAR did just beat them.
maybe. I just don't like the
We're
logo.
we're also just discounting RAR because the history that surrounds the org. Because you never know, they might drop out next.
You never know.
You never know. Oh yeah, I think. Oh look, there, Ivar just joined in to salute the fact that his team is in first place. He's very happy about that.
All right.
Okina, I want to talk to Okina real quick. Okina, you're on the other side. You're the outsider looking in from the sophomore class. Who do you think is the number one team in Division 2?
Actually, I might sound pretty unfair, but I actually think it's TAGA, because so if you look at the upcoming games, the only two games that really stick out to me are this week we have TAGA versus Project Maverick, and next week we have TAGA versus OMTZ. And if they can win both those two games, I'm pretty sure they're a lock for first seed. Because I feel like every other game is kind of a like, how they're going to turn out. Like, how Mint versus RAR is going to turn out. You know how OMTZ versus RAR is going to turn out. Like, how a lot of these games are going to turn out. So I feel like the top four are definitely set in stone. But I feel like in the next 2 weeks, we'll see if TAGA can win the next two games against Project Maverick and Zeus, who you guys have ranked first and second, and they'll move up into that first seed.
Yeah, I think you just said the biggest if on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they beat the top two teams, then yeah, they will be legit. The reason why I'm hesitant to do so is that they played Mint early on this season. It wasn't really close.
Well,
When
so I
Project
will say that the reason that it wasn't close is because as the players on TAGA so kindly put, is they had a dog jungler at the time. So with the new roster with Dad in the jungle, I feel like they're a lot more confident going forward in their chances against PM and against Zeus, because they did not have the same roster that they do now against Mint, and they got rid of Prots. So
right. Well, that's the problem. They dropped Prots, right? Prots is now on the bench. So how good of a team are they still? Like, that's the question. But and the reason why I can't solidly move TAGA above fourth, they're very solidly fourth. I think me and PVS agree that they're very solidly right now, from what we've seen, the worst of the 3-1 teams. And that's because Project Maverick has played Mint Potato, and it was probably the closest 2-0 that I've seen all season. It was on stream. If you guys haven't seen it, it was quite a banger. In fact, Project Maverick should have won if they didn't throw. I don't know why they're saying PM greater than Mint. It says they're tied for second. Maybe pay a little bit more attention. But yeah, and then Project Maverick, they took a really close series against OMTZ. Before it got overturned, it was 2-1. And so Project Maverick, they haven't beaten the top teams, but they definitely looked really competitive. And TAGA just didn't look as competitive, but you're right, the roster has changed. So it is a big if, and that's why me and PVS, I think, probably put them at fourth, because they have to play PM and OMTZ yet. And when they do, we will have a better idea of where they should line up, you know. So.
Yeah, and I think their match against PM this week will definitely be a good litmus test of if they can, 2-0 Project Maverick. I feel like they would have a good chance of because I feel like Zeus is just way better than PM, Potato, and Golden Age. I feel like they're definitely the number one. And then the way I see it is, I don't see it as a top 3 and then 4. I see it as a Zeus being number 1, and then the others are competing for number 2. That's how I perceive Division 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a little bit of clairvoyance, you know. If TAGA beats PM, okay, my power rankings immediately go TAGA third, PM fourth. Potato's still second. But like that's as much movement as I'm willing to make until they actually beat OMTZ, and then we can have a conversation. Because if they beat those two, then yeah, I mean they're just the best team, right? After their roster changes, but it's really hard to know that. Well, like right now, really hard to make that statement.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I think the bottom 4 are very clear. The only question mark is, it can Revenge like rebound. They have to beat Mint and PM, I think, to make playoffs. So that's going to be quite a tall order. And if they do that, then they're going to knock either Mint or PM out of playoffs. So, it's going to be quite difficult. Can Ikazuchi bring this team to the promised land? PVS, can he do it?
El Kazuchi.
El Kazuchi. Okay. And then I think somebody else sent in their guest power rankings. Caxi.
Those Blue Sprouts.
Not that guy.
Blue Sprouts, yeah. He has OMTZ first, Mint Potato second, TAGA third, Project Maverick fourth, Revenge fifth, Roar sixth, and SOS seventh. And then QGB eighth, of course. And for those who don't know, QGB is dropped out, so they
unlucky.
They're just here as a formality. But yeah, I think that basically sums up all of sophomore. Andy sent me power rankings, but they weren't serious, so I'm not going to...
I feel like every player on Blue Sprouts gave you a different power ranking.
Yeah, it basically was like that.
Undecided.
Andy sent out his own power rankings, and you know what? He could share them with the public if he wants, because I'm not reading all that. Because they're very memey. But yeah, so I think we can move over to Division 1 if you want.
Let's go over there. So no surprise, first place has not moved at all. Blue Sprouts up 3 spots actually, which is the largest change here in sophomore. OMTH also tied with them at second, Krakens of Love at 4th, TDS at 5th, Nameless Fantasy at 6th, and a tie for 7th between Redbird and Enigma Zenith.
Yeah, this is a very interesting division, as Ivar kind of touches on. There's 5 teams locked in at 2-2 here. I mean, Division 2 had 4 teams at 3-1. 5 teams at 2-2 makes playoffs quite spicy. You know, that whole 2 through 6 spot could literally go to anyone. And a lot of teams that we thought were pretty good have been underperforming, and then a lot of teams that we thought were pretty bad have been kind of doing pretty well. So this division is all up in the air. Blue Sprouts, we always kind of knew that Blue Sprouts was kind of good, We were just waiting for them to actually show up, and then they did finally in the last 2 weeks, and they've done it in quite convincing style. You know, they beat ISU and TDS 2-0, which were huge wins because we talked about it last week. If TDS had won that matchup, Blue Sprouts probably just doesn't make playoffs. So, because they would have been 1-3, and that would have been a really tough hurdle to overcome. So the fact that BSP won is pretty good. They'll have to prove themselves again against KOL next week, and KOL has been sliding. Like, wow, what a turn! They lost to Zen Z this week, 2-0. In fact, it wasn't a 2-1. So I think there's some kind of internal drama as well. I think some players are moving around and stuff like that. So AOL coming out hot, and maybe a meteoric crash as we enter this upcoming end of the season.
So you have insider information.
It's not very insider. I think all of sophomore kind of knows, right? Like, he talked about it pretty publicly. One of the guys on KOL that he was looking for a team. So I don't know what you guys think.
I haven't heard anything about KOL. I was just I know the top laner for Zenigma, and I know that adding him to their team actually just completely transformed that team and just made them something else. So I know Zenigma is actually, if they weren't 1-3, I'd say that they would be able to sneak into the playoffs. But because their record is not that good to start with, I don't think they actually have a chance to make it into playoffs, unfortunately. But they would definitely be my dark horse because I feel like they actually have a good chance of beating Hades this week. Right, because Hades has also been sliding.
There's not no chance. Let's get that straight. The Foldy sheet says they have a 10% chance of making it without a tiebreaker and a 35% chance with a tiebreaker. And they played some pretty crucial matchups. In fact, sophomore this week is going to be insane. NZ versus OMTH, AOL versus BSP, and TDS versus Nameless. I mean, that's 3-2-2. I mean, that's 4 2-2 teams going head to head, and then a 2-2 team versus a 1-3. And if Zenigma Zenith wins, we're gonna have a kind of a split between 3-2s and 2-3s. So that'll make the season quite interesting. I'm excited for this week for Division 1. I will touch on that TAW is actually 5-0. They did 2-0 ISU last night, so ISU's moved down to 1-4. And after the evaluation in the Foldy sheet, ISU has no chance of making playoffs without a tiebreaker. They would need some type of tiebreaker to make playoffs, and it's a 16% chance, 1-6. So it's not very good chances at all. But Mr. First Place, Mr. 5-0, Mr. 10-1, how do you feel about this division?
I mean, the only team that I'm confident in winning, or the only two teams I'm confident in winning right now, are Wolves and Blue Sprouts. All the other teams, they could honestly take games off of each other, except for Redbird. But I feel like any of these teams could just randomly beat each other. Like Zenigma, like I said, I feel like Zenigma could actually beat Hades. Krakens of Love, I feel like could lose some games. But any team that faces Blue Sprouts or us, I feel like is just going to lose. I've been saying since week 1, even though Blue Sprouts started 0-2, that they definitely impressed me as the best team that we played against. In fact, they're the only team to take a game off of us. So definitely, I feel like any team that faces Blue Sprouts or faces us is going to lose. But other than that, I couldn't tell you who wins each of these games. I do want to hype up Zenigma because I know their top laner, and I know that he's been playing really well. Para, and that's part of the reason why they were able to 2-0 Krakens. But I mean, other than that, I mean, these teams there's a reason all these teams are 2-2. They keep beating each other, so it's kind of hard to evaluate them.
Yeah, I will say that BSP went 1-2 against both TAW and OMTH. I feel like people generally agree that was kind of the learning period for BSP.
Yeah.
There was definitely like the synchronization period of sorts. So the fact that they were still able to take games off of some of the top teams makes them pretty scary, I would say. Really scary, in fact.
Yeah, I will say Blue Sprouts probably had the hardest first 2 weeks they possibly could have gotten.
Oh yeah,
Especially
for
with
sure.
them going through changes at the start of the season. It just was unfortunate that they had to face Hades and us in the first 2 weeks when they were doing roster changes and didn't have their coach at the time. So, but they did get them out of the way. So the rest of their season should be a pretty smooth breeze for them.
Okay, yeah. So I will say that according to the Foldy sheet, 5 teams have a 73% chance to make playoffs. So
Uh,
5 teams have over a 70% chance of making playoffs. So those are all the 2-2 teams, of course. So it'll be interesting to see how these things shake out over the next couple of weeks. I think TDS probably has the worst chance. They have to play Nameless, which is a game they can win, and then they have to play TAW and then OMTH. Uh, but KOL also doesn't have a pretty easy. I mean, all of these schedules are pretty rough. They all have to play each other basically
mm,
to determine who goes to playoffs. So actually, while I have you here, uh, give me who's making playoffs. Give me your top four.
I
Both of
mean,
you.
Red, you know me, I'm not that good at math, but 5 teams into 3 doesn't quite add up. But
Right.
I do think that Zenzi, if Zenzi beats Hades this week, I feel like Zenzi has a really good chance of making it in. But I feel like the other 2 teams besides Wolves and Bruce Sprouts, if I'm being, I mean, if I'm being realistic, it's probably Hades and Donut Shop. But I would really want to see Zenigma slide into one of those bottom 2 spots.
Okay, PVS.
I'm gonna go with TAWBSP, KOL,
Okay.
And wait a minute, one sec. Let me look at something real quick. TDS.
Okay.
I am kind of interested that both of you guys didn't put BSP second, but for different teams. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I put OMTH second just because they they started off the season pretty hot. Well, actually, they started off the season pretty bad, but they beat PSP, and then they beat Nameless, and then their only other loss was to you guys.
Yeah.
And the rest of their schedule looks like pretty easy. Now Zenzi did upgrade, but if they beat Zenzi, then it's smooth sailing for them. They have to play ISU and TDS after that, so I felt pretty confident putting him in second. I don't know why TDS has Krakens of Love in second. This is probably when he was on crack. So when he was on crack, he probably made these power rankings. But do you want to explain yourself, PBS? Why did you put a team that just
it was
got
pretty strong,
by...
to be honest, but
Okay.
I'm gonna say they just had a bad day, you know? I mean, I still think KOL is at least top 4. I don't know about, I don't know. I still think they make playoffs.
Okay.
I will say whoever did the schedule writing for sophomore Division 1 is a genius, because you have all these teams playing each other at the end of the season, which is just really awesome for viewers and stuff.
Well, thank you. I tried my hardest. My clairvoyance came in, and I knew who all would be 2-2 at the end of the season. So it's good to know that it's been working. But I think we have not much else to speak on here. Do you want to move over to freshmen?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Freshman Division 2. We got Shogun at the top by themselves. BDES at second. Corvus Blades at third. TD Shadow at fourth. Aurora Silvers at fifth. GES at sixth. Imperium at seventh. And we don't talk about the bottom team.
All right. So for those who don't know, Imperium and Undying United have actually been moved. Kind of.
Removed?
Well, they kind of kind of been removed. So they are no longer participating in the league. So you just have to be one of the top 4 out of 6. That's not as hard as top 4 out of 8. I think it's very obvious, as much as Doho wants to be mad about it. I think it's pretty obvious why we put Shogun Hunters first, considering that they just beat BDES last week. ES should be chilling because their next 2 weeks are bye weeks.
So true, they don't even gotta play.
They don't have to play another match until week 7. They're essentially 5-1 right now. So, I mean, I would be straight chilling if I was them. I would not be raging. Shogun Hunters actually has to play their full season, so that'll be quite interesting. Our support tried to 1v1 a Trundle 4 levels ahead of him. Hey man, if your team is running it down, then that's just more evidence that you should be second. I don't know what you really want. But what I found interesting about our power rankings is that they were the exact same for this division. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that's happened yet.
No, I don't think that's ever happened actually. So, I will say that if we're looking at playoffs, DES is out of playoff contention. So it literally is a 5-way race for the top 4 spots. Shogun Hunters, BDES, Corvus Blade, TD Shadow, and Roar Silver. I think it's pretty straightforward who we would have in the top 4, right? I don't think we expect Roars to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just agreeing.
Well, I see the RAR's org name, and I don't think they're gonna make playoffs. I feel like if it was any other team, I don't know, but I have not had very high hopes for RAR's teams. No offense to RAR's teams, but I've not had very high hopes for them in the past.
I'm gonna stop you right there. RAR's team there's a reason why Doki talks about chips, and that's because RAR does win a lot of championships.
Yeah.
But
None that I've seen.
In non-competitive leagues.
Yeah, in non-competitive leagues. That's what I was gonna say.
Like ours.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So I think you're right. I don't think they make it because in a league that's like competitive like this, I don't think they could really compete with like Shogun Hunters, for example, or BDES. But they have a chance to prove themselves because they get a bye week this week, and then they play Corvus and they play BDES. I think if they win out, they make playoffs. So that'll be pretty interesting to see, I think. So, but yeah, I think there's not much to talk about here, except for the Shogun Hunters beating BDES. That was kind of crazy.
Expected.
Okay, you say expected.
Yep.
Next week we have TDS versus Corvus Blade. That's a pretty hype matchup. Corvus has got a really tough schedule. They have to play TDS, they have to play RAR, and then they have to play Shogun Hunters. And I think they need to win at least one of those to make playoffs. So maybe
I'm
two.
not sure what the magic number here would be. I assume it's 4. Especially with
Right now,
a 16 league.
Well, right now it's looking like 5. Because RAR is at 2-2, so they could finish 5-2. So I think if Shogun wins, I mean they already basically have a 100% chance of making it, but it looks like number is 5. So yeah, I think BDS is basically locked because they're 5-1. That's why they actually have a higher chance of making playoffs according to the Foldy sheet than Shogun Hunters because they are technically 5-1. So they're essentially locked. But yeah, I think this division's very straightforward. Do we want to move over to Division 1?
Sure, let's go. Last one. Where'd it go? Okay. 1 second. There we go.
PVS
There we go. No, why I didn't show. I don't know why I didn't.
Okay. Now this is the fun one. Division 2 feels very straightforward. Division 1 is the fun one because I feel like all of the top 6 teams could probably like be in the top 2 in Division 2. I feel like a lot of these teams got a really bad draw, to be honest.
True.
To be all in the same division. Because I'll be honest, I think Flannel's looking good. They just beat 2077. They made a couple roster changes, and I could feel the confidence coming off of them. I have them at 4th. You got them at 7th, which is, it's fair, I guess. But surprised that you put them at 7th and then Shogun at 2077 at 3rd.
Yeah, looking at consistency here. You're looking at 5-3 versus 2-5. So
right. Okay, so here's my insider knowledge. I got insider knowledge from a member of Shogun 2077, and they said, at this point, we've basically imploded, but could have been easily been a number one team. It's too bad. Last week's easy 2-0 turned into a loss, so we are completely mental boomed. So there's the hot take.
Oh no.
There's the hot take. So 2077 doesn't have faith in themselves. Who is going to have faith in them? You know, that's why I put them kind of in fifth. I don't have them making playoffs anymore. Not Tafiki, just so you know. It's not Tafiki. But yeah, KPG and Zenyu tied for first. They've been tied for first for what, like the last 3 weeks now?
Of course.
I'm very excited to see them go head to head, and they'll go head to head not this week, but the following week. Zenyu will play BDED. BDED probably looking like, I mean, all these 2-2 teams could like really beat a lot of these teams. Like honestly, like BDED only lost to Shogun on maybe like a FF kind of fluke deal, due to like a 4v5, and all of these teams like really look really strong, to be honest.
Yeah,
honestly,
I mean,
I think this is. I'm so sorry. I think this is the most all over the place ranking that I've seen so far, and we're at the end.
Right.
Both of you guys are just all over the place in these rankings, which I think is really indicative that, like you said, any of these teams can take any of these teams.
Yeah, except for Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost was removed. Yes, removed is the correct word to use here, because you can only FF 3 times in a season before your team is removed. And yeah, they FF'd times, so
I mean, if you lose 3 games, I mean, you might as well.
It's basically over, right? But yeah, I think I mean, we have Shogun and QGK tied for third. Interesting that we both have them 3 and 5, like, but in the opposite way. And then BDD solidly in fifth, and then Flannel in sixth, and then Nameless in seventh. I think is very straightforward. It's surprising that you put Flannel seventh and Nameless sixth when Flannel has 2 wins and Nameless has 0. You want to explain that?
What am I explaining here?
Why you have Nameless above Flannel when they're winless?
I just think Nameless is better. I look at Flannel's roster and I'm like, I don't know. I know their coach too. I don't know.
Right. You know Flannel beat Nameless. You know what? You don't care about that stuff.
I don't care. I don't
look
look at that.
Head-to-head matches.
I think of what's in my heart, you know?
Right. I think this week we're going to get a lot of answers, though. QGK plays 2077. Flannel gets a free FF win. Then you plays BDED. And then KPG beats Nameless. I think, not beats, but plays. But, I mean, maybe it was a little Freudian slip. Because I do think that Nameless doesn't really have a shot at that matchup. But, yeah, so a lot of these matchups are going to determine a lot, you know? Like every week this season. Because the divisions are so competitive now. I think BDED Zenyu probably the highlight matchup. BDED still is a team I think that can take one of these top teams down on a good day. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But yeah, I think if I had to pick 4, I had to pick the 4. It would be Zenyu, APG, BDED, and Flannel. I'm committed. I've committed.
Okay. Someone clip it?
Somebody clip it. I actually think that's actually impossible because BDED plays Flannel later this season. But I already said it, so it's on record. Any final comments or any predictions for your playoff teams?
I personally am not confident. I mean, I'm confident in KPG and Zenyu, but
right. Everybody else is a toss-up.
Everyone else is like, who knows?
Right. Even Nameless has a 3% chance of making playoffs. So
even the game scores are like all over the place. Like there's no like, consistency.
Exactly. So this is quite the fiesta, you know. It's a fiesta down there, and we don't support that. So if you want to move over to predictions, we can talk about that.
You want to start?
Sure.
You're freshman? Okay.
Oh, look at you! I didn't
I
know you
added
did
some
this.
stuff. I added a little bit of stuff.
Wow, Mr. Fancy Schmancy. Okay. Reds. So we have freshmen up first, of course. We
Yes.
both have KPG 2-0ing Nameless. And Zenu 2-0ing BDED. Even though I said BDED could beat Zenu, I still clearly don't have confidence in them.
Yep.
I kind of want to change my prediction on the 2077
It's
thing
too
now
late.
because of,
This is a
because of
PNG.
what I've
You can't
heard.
change it.
But we have committed that 2077 will be GK. I think it'll be a little closer than you think. Flannel and RAR both at the W due to FFs, and so did BDES. But everybody else, we have like exactly the same. We have actually the same exact picks. The only thing difference is that I think QGK will take one game and you don't.
Yep.
Literally the only difference. So we both have Corvus and Shogun Hunters winning. But yeah, you want to move over to sophomore?
Yeah, okay. So we both have OMTH winning 2-0, BSP winning 2-1. I think we agree on almost everything here. Team Envision Wolves 2-0, TDS. I have 2-1 against Nameless.
Right.
Revenge, we both have winning. You have SOS taking one game though. Mint gets the free buy. PM, I have them 2-0, you have them 2-1. And we both have OMTZ 2-0 over RAR.
Right. I can tell you that we already got one right. TAW did 2-0 ISU. But
Surprise.
Okina, I know you probably have some input, some thoughts about these predictions. You want
All right,
to give us your thoughts?
I think some of these are wrong actually. So Zenzi is gonna 2-0 OMTH. That's I feel like
2-0.
yeah, I feel like that's gonna be 2-0. I don't think KOL can take a game off Blue Sprouts. I agree with Reds on TDS being able to 2-0 Nameless, but I do think I think TAGA can beat PM. I do think it's going to be a 3-game series, but I do think TAGA can win that series definitely. I don't
think
know.
so too.
I don't know if that's the stream. I don't know what the stream one's going to be, but I think the 2 games that I definitely would want to see on stream if for sophomore would be the OMTH Zenzi game and the TAGA PM game.
Well, I've got bad news for you.
I figured.
In an attempt to stream everyone, a lot of those teams have already been streamed, so we have to.
Who hasn't been streamed yet?
Revenge, SOS, TAGA has not been on stream, but Project Maverick has. RAR is not. I don't think OMTZ has been on stream either. Maybe they have.
There we go. We're gonna get RAR versus OMTZ on stream. Let's go.
Oh, there's a couple teams, but yeah, I think you're right. The TAGA PM1 is going to be very competitive. That's why I put it 2-1 because I do think TAGA can win. But yeah, I still have faith in PM. Oh, and, for the June, go ahead.
Oh, and just zero faith in Zenzi here. I mean, I feel like at the very least, I feel like they're going to take a game off of OMTH.
Well, it's not zero faith in Zenzi. It's too much faith in OMTH. Just think about it that way.
True.
Okay. So for juniors, this is the only class that we actually differ in our predictions for winners. We both have Zenar beating Catalyst Eclipse 2-0. I have OG 2-0 and Empire. You have Empire winning 2-1.
It's Empire Week.
It's Empire Week. Okay, it's Empire Week. Just happened to be Empire Week. Unlucky for OG. BBC 2-0ing MTC. We both agree. I've got Air beating CBR in a 3-game series. You, of course, I knew you'd pick CBR because they're your boys.
Yep.
But you also said it's a 3-game series.
I love Air, but like, I can't put CBR first and then not have them win.
Right, of course.
Air is probably my second favorite.
Air completely, I think they really impressed last week, right? Like they on stream beat a team that was very confident, a team that we thought was in the discussion of one of the top teams in junior, and beat them 2-0. That was really impressive. So, Air still has some stuff to prove. You know, they still have to play CBR and BBC. But right now, I think a lot of people are on the Air train. So Me included. I got them beating CBRs. Want to touch on senior real quick?
Yeah, so we both all agree on the match scores here, or sorry, the match results. I have CPPs 2-0. You have 2-1. Of course, you got to give Fuds that one win, even though they broke the streak last week.
Well, you know, USC did have 1 week where they got 2-0-2, but then
True.
it was still 2-1 from then on afterwards. So
we both have Nightless 2-0. Both have AKM 2-1 over OGW. You have G7 2-0 over TAG. I have them 2-1.
yeah, I think G7M is kind of in a different class from TAG. And that's no shot at TAG. I just think G7M just looks so much better. That's all. So I don't think it'll be that close. I think the banger matchup is for sure the AKM versus OGW matchup. So that'll really determine a lot, actually. Just remember, this is the time that AKM gets challenged these last 3 weeks. So we'll see if they take it easy, or because they already locked playoffs, or if they try to get that top 2 seed. And then for house standings, which is very neat, little nifty thing that you included there at the bottom.
It's a little
We
bit
have,
weird,
yeah, well, we'll clean it up. We'll clean it up in post. Infernal in first, still. No, they didn't start off in first, but we had a feeling that it would shake out this way, and that's where they are. Mountain in second, kind of expected as well. Ocean in third, kind of expected as well, and then Cloud in fourth. Everything's kind of shaken out as expected. Infernal had a really shaky start, but I mean, these last couple of weeks they've gone like 8-4, which is insane. Those are some of the highest like weekly house records we've seen. I don't think we've seen anything higher than 8-4. 7-5 for Mountain. 5-7 for Cloud, which is extremely respectable considering they get 3 free losses every week, right? Like I think 2 of their teams have dropped out, so pretty impressive. And then Ocean going 4-8 this week. So yeah, I mean, kind of shaking out how we expect, but remember, it's not how you start; it's how you finish, guys. Finish. The end of season ranking will be determined by how you finish in playoffs. So getting a playoff spot is huge for your house, humongous. So yeah, that'll be quite fun to see. I think, any final comments? I've got some announcements, so if you
no, I got nothing.
Let me know.
I mean, I feel like being in Cloud is the equivalent of being in Hufflepuff, man. Just, I don't know. I thought with us being in there, we'd be not fourth, but I guess not. I guess Infernal is just way too strong.
Right, and it is. I mean, there is a large luck factor involved, and then in the future seasons, we do. We're gonna try to circumvent that a little bit, but yeah, it's a lot of luck factor involved. I mean, you are the only number 1 team in Cloud. It's kind of unlucky, you know. Last season it was the same thing with Ocean. Everybody remembers. If you were here last season, you remember how much it sucked to be in the Ocean House. G7M was in Ocean House last season, and it was kind of like, wow, it's G7M and the boys, and the boys were
dogs.
Yeah.
Is it one of those things? So can Cloud come back, or is it just, is it pretty far gone?
No, they definitely can come back.
Okay.
We actually saw a little bit of a turnaround. Mountain was threatening for first place during playoffs last season because of how many teams made playoffs from Mountain. They finished third, but yeah, it's all about how you finish. So getting those playoff spots and maybe you hit the lucky streak during playoffs, you kind of turn it on. It completely can change things around for sure, like big time. So. But yeah, you're gonna need. If I were you, I'd be rooting for Flannel, TD Shadow, EAG, Shameless Empire. Got some teams to root for, okay? So that'll be fun to see how that shakes out. But yeah, some final announcements.
Okay.
Some things that we can pat back for here at RA. This week we hit 400 followers on Twitch. That was Bob. We hit 1,000 members in the Discord. Woo! Pretty pog. It is the start of Spooky Month, which is my favorite month. So in honor of that,
How original.
we will be. What? Fuck
How
off.
original.
What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Just let people be happy. What is wrong with you?
No.
So in honor of that, we will be hosting a community event. We still have to hash it out, but it will be some type of community event that everyone can participate in, and it will have a cash prize pool. It will not be video game related directly, so keep that in mind. And then Legends of Runeterra next Thursday. We're launching Legends of Runeterra, so that'll be kind of hype. We got a lot of stuff coming in the pipeline, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, that's basically it. So
Yeah, Runeterra Academy laying the pipe like usual.
uh-huh.
Yep. Lot of fun stuff coming down the sewer drain right now.
Right. I really don't like your analogies. I'm gonna be honest.
It's fine.
Oh, no.
All right. I think that's it for this show, isn't it?
Yep, for sure.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
See you back here next Wednesday, guys. Thanks for
Yep.
coming out.
if you wanna be a guest, make sure you DM Red before the show starts. It's a little bit easier, more organized. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well,
All
that's
right.
gonna do it for us at Runeterra Academy Extracurricular Activities week number 5. Thank you to Okina for coming out, giving your input. We always love to have the community join into our streams, and we'll see you next time. Freshman starts on Friday, by the way. Don't miss out on that stream. Should be pretty hype. Yep.
That'll be very poggers. See you guys on Friday. Or I could tell you who we're playing. I could tell you who's on the schedule. Hold on. TDS versus Corvus Blade. Wow, that's a huge playoff match.
True.
So,
Huge.
come join us on Friday. It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
All right, I guess we're gonna throw it over to Legends here. So stick around, support them as well. Yeah.
Or don't.
Or
You don't
you
have
don't
to.
have to. You don't want to, but
I don't really like the guys at Legends anyway. So
true. All right. See y'all next week, or I guess later in the week.
see ya.